It got to the point where my mother found like this wallet and I had like this much money and you couldn't even close the wallet. I had so much money in it. She was like, where did you get all this money from?
Welcome back to First and 15th, y'all. I am so happy to have our guest today, Shari. We're talking about being a small business owner and some of the ups and downs it takes to be in her field. Now, I have known Shari for a long time, and I'm going to say I am so proud of you in the growth. So I'm going to have you do an intro and then we'll jump right in, Shari.
Okay. Well, it's not much to it. Like she said, my name is Shari Seawright. I am the owner of Campton Transport and Seawright Cleaning Solutions. I also do some consulting through Blue Diamond Consulting. So I'm busy, 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 but I worked in the federal government for about 10 years before I relocated to Alabama, and I would not trade entrepreneurship for anything.
Okay, now being a business owner, and I'm going to say for me, is scary because that's not my
Yes.
lane. I would have never imagined that I would be doing some of the things that I'm doing. So I definitely get encouragement from people like you. I'm like, well, look at Sherry.
Thank
She didn't
you.
start her own business. So let's jump right in. Okay, so
Thank
you
you.
are the owner of Campton Transport and
Hampton,
a
yes.
cleaning and Sea Right Cleaning.
Yes. Seawright Cleaning Solutions.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
Yes.
so first question. When you moved from Maryland to Alabama, what were some of the reasons that you actually wanted to keep going as a business owner?
Okay, so I actually was not and I'm gonna keep it real, I was not a legit business owner before moving to Alabama. I've always been into entrepreneurship. I was telling my mother, I think one of the first things I remember doing was in second grade. Um, you had if you didn't have lunch money, you had to go to the teacher, you had to go to the front office, you had to do all of this, right? And so it was a bit embarrassing for some of the kids to say they don't have lunch money or whatever the case. So I actually started loaning people lunch money for them to
You're in
have
second grade?
second grade. Second grade, I was loaning people lunch money and they had to give me like an extra quarterback at the end of the week or something like that. I had no idea really what I was doing in that moment. I just it turned into something because it got to the point where my mother found like this wallet and I had like this much money and it couldn't even you
Yeah.
couldn't even close the wallet. I had so much money in it. She was like, where did you get all this money from? And so I had to tell her what I was doing. So that was the first, I would say, if I was to look back and say my first step into entrepreneurship. In middle school, I sold candy. In college, I sold toilet paper and bread and things in
Okay,
the dorm. But
toilet paper. Okay.
yes, toilet paper. And you know, being in college, you know, sometimes the toilet paper run out and you need some toilet paper. You're gonna
Mhm.
come to my dorm room and you're gonna pay for some toilet paper. But you know, so I've always done things to make money. I had an in-home weekend daycare that I was doing before I moved down here. So it was a lot of things that I was doing when I moved down. I didn't even plan to come to Alabama. I planned to move to Georgia, but my whole thing is that I did not want to work for anybody else. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have, you know, anything other than the fact that I knew that I did not when I did work next, I did not want to work. So I saved up all my money for like a year. I paid my bills up. I saved my money up. I was prepared to not work for about a year when I moved down here,
Okay.
just to figure out what exactly I wanted to do. But I did not want to go back into the workforce, and that's all I knew.
Okay. Well, shoot, that right there takes courage because, like, you already
Yes,
knew what you wanted to do, which was to not have anyone to be like, Sherry, I need XYZ by Friday. You got to work, late, work on your lunch break because then that wasn't for you. And so people
yes.
like you give me encouragement because, Sherry, I work for the man and I get scared, of leaving my comfort zone because I'm like, I got my paycheck, I got my benefits, I got, things I can do on the side, and it's a safety net because I,
Yes.
as you may know, am the scared sister when it comes to Melanie and myself.
Okay. I it was also some other personal things going on in my life that I just wanted to change. So I didn't really care
Okay.
what it was. I just knew that I was working at HR. So I saw what my retirement would be. I saw what I would possibly be left with after working and then extending the retirement age. And I mean, it's nothing wrong. And I tell people this when I moved down here is that growing up in the DC area, you're really encouraged to go into the government as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I was told verbatim, get your diploma, go into the government, do your 30 years. You know, if you want to go to
Right.
school, you can go to school. But main point is get you a government job, do your 30 years, get your benefits, and you in there, you and get your retirement.
Yeah.
And that's really what I mean. We were told that it's a culture of I don't have to go to school. I mean, it's a I think it's a mixture, and you can give me feedback on that. I think it's a mixture. Definitely,
Mm-hmm.
got to shout out Union Bethel. We were always encouraged to pursue higher education and do more
Mm-hmm.
and go above and beyond. So when I look at everybody who we grew up with and we were in that community, we're all
Mm-hmm.
doing well because of how we basically trained.
Right. And you
So
are so right.
whether
Mhm.
we're in the government, whether we are entrepreneurs, I mean, we're all doing great.
Yeah, you are so right because that was such a foundation that honestly, I have never seen anything like it at no other
Anything.
church. And I live, of course, up still in Maryland, but I
Mm-hmm.
have never seen anything that is as strong as that foundation of Union Bethel.
Yeah.
And you're right, like
Yeah.
we're doing great things, whether you're federal government, whether you're private sector, owning your own business, whether you're stay-at-home parent. I mean, like we had a great foundation. So shout out
Yeah.
to Bishop Seawright and to Reverend
Yes,
Seawright as
I
well.
think that anybody who came up in Union Bethel in that community, and like I tell people, the people that I grew up with, I either lived in the same neighborhood, went to the same school, or we all went to the same church, or it could have been two out of the three, it could have been all three. So anybody who grew up in that community and just if we had no choice but to be excellent, really. We may not have appreciated it, but
Hmm.
I mean everything really came together and worked out for us. So we I just knew that whatever I was going to do when I left, I was going to do well. I just did not have a plan. And so when you say that I inspire you, I
Hmm.
always tell people I'm the inspiration, not the example. Please do not do the things I tell everybody when I'm consulting them. Please don't do the things that I did because I'm a risk taker. I am going to make things happen, no matter what. I'll go without, paying my bills or, things like that. I don't recommend those things to people, but anything that is going to pour into me, I'm going to go all in with it. And a lot of people are not in that position. A lot of people don't have that mindset, and a lot of people just aren't willing to do it. So I don't like to tell people, like, don't follow my example, because what got me
Hmm.
here is a combination of things. But I am
Right.
the inspiration. I can let you know that it's possible.
Oh, I love that, Sherry. I mean, because I mean, like you're right,
Thank
it
you.
takes courage. Being a risk taker helped to get you where you are. So
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about how you actually started your transport company. So let me just
Okay.
ask you this. So when you moved, up to Alabama, was transport in helping the mobility challenged anything on your radar whatsoever?
It was not on my radar. And actually, when I did decide to go back to work, I got that position because I had a history of working for one of the transportation brokers, doing exactly what they needed someone to do, which was coordinate the transportation between the doctors and the patients. That is what
Mhm.
got me hired at that job. I did not know that that was even part of the job, actually. But when I got into the interview and they saw it on my resume, and they were like, "Oh, okay," they were like so happy to see that on my resume. And that's actually how I got that job. So I got started in the transportation industry like 2007,
Okay.
2008, somewhere around there. Working in a call center. It was out in Herndon, Virginia, and it was for a company which I won't say their name, but they are still relevant. And I worked for them in their call center, and it was called Where's My Ride? The call center was called Where's My Ride? So people literally called from 7 in the morning until 6 o'clock in the evening, trying to figure out where the drivers were, what kind
like,
of,
where's my
saying,
ride? They're like, where's my ride?
Yeah, exactly. It was Where's My Ride? And so I worked there, and about 6 months into that, I was promoted to quality assurance representative, to where I was the youngest and the only Black person in that position within the whole company. And so I stayed there for about a year, and then that's when I went into the federal government. So that's where I got my start. That's where I was first introduced to the medical transportation industry. So for me to move down here and get that job, and even though it was part of my job, it turned into be 90% of my job, because the need is so great. Because coming from a bigger metropolitan area, they don't have a transit system. They have buses, but they don't have trains. They don't run as often or as far out as, the buses in DC. You can go out, stand in the corner. A bus is going to come 15 minutes. It's going to take you to some metro station, and you can get wherever you need to go. That is not the case out here in Birmingham. You have to have a car if you're going to get around, in Birmingham. So that is because it was 90% of my job, and it just became so morally taxing, because I had to tell people, it was more like a social worker role. So I had to take them food bags. I had to go into their homes and do house visits and things like that. And so when it came time for them to go to their appointments, I had to tell people who had to go to chemo, I don't have a ride for you to go to chemo. I had to tell people, I know you just found out you have this chronic illness like 2 days ago, and now you're just getting out of the hospital, and I know you need to get to your follow-up appointment, but I have no way for you to get there, because there are still providers in Birmingham, but the need is so great that they just possibly cannot fulfill every single need. And so I found myself, because I had a rapport with people, I say, Miss So-and-so, if I could take you in my car, I would, and then I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? How hard is this when I already have knowledge of how it works? And that's really how it came about.
Okay, so like you saw the gap and you were like, I can fill this gap, because you already had experience and you already knew how to do it. So
exactly.
Pause right
exactly.
there.
So I mean, I did not know exactly how to do it. There's way more to it, as far as running a business. But I felt like I did have enough information, and I actually working directly with the drivers, with the doctors, working in that industry already. I had connections, and I knew where people needed to go to the doctor. So when it came time for me to start, I just took my cards over there to those doctors, did a lot of networking, a lot of footwork, and that's how I was able to get my first ride. And just to give you an example of how serious the need is, my very, very, very first ride was a man that was in so much pain. He had like fallen or something like that. And he was in so much pain that he started walking at 4 o'clock in the morning to the emergency room, where he was down to the VA hospital. He lived an hour driving outside of Birmingham. So he started walking 4 o'clock in the morning, and a sheriff picked him up and took him the rest of the way to the hospital, and they treated him. And then the social worker called me and was like, this man needs a ride, and we don't have anybody that can take him out there. And actually, that social worker got my card for somebody at the bank. It's crazy. So yeah, so that's the situation that people are facing, is that I was really, glad that I could help him get back home.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So then, was this man someone who was older in age, say like in his 60s,
He
or
was,
was
yeah,
he?
he was in his 60s. Definitely. Maybe older, but definitely at least in his 60s.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I would
So,
have never
which like,
imagined. I mean, that's something that I would have never imagined, someone who is living in hours or change drive away, being just so desperate to get healthcare services, that he would walk. And so I don't even know how long that would have taken him to actually walk. But I'm going to
yes, if that
assume
sheriff, thank
like,
God the sheriff
yeah,
picked him
yeah,
up.
5, 6 hours possibly, walking from your
Yes.
home to the hospital. So you have shared how you met folks like at the hospital, the bank, the doctor's offices, and such. But when you have met seniors, for example, who don't have family in the area, how have you balanced being someone who is not their family member, but is seen as family because you are the owner of Campton Transport, and like if they made a they may not have family in the area. So then do you see that that's something that is pulling on your heartstrings at times to really like give more they don't have anyone else no but you?
I would go back to my childhood, and as you know, working in the community is what me and my family do. That's what we were raised to do. We was raised to help people, and in any capacity that we can. Um, yes, as people get older, their kids may move away. Their kids may move hours away. Their kids have their own families and things that they have to tend to. And so I think that's what's special about Campton Transport. For one, we understand that people do business with people that they know and trust. And so
Mhm.
part of the process is I try, because now it's grown to the point where my drivers, they pretty much handle everything. But I try to be I try to do the first ride. If you're a first time
Okay.
customer, I try to do the first ride. And then there was a time where we had gift bags, and I still tell people thank you. Handwritten thank you cards. At that
Mhm.
time, we were working through COVID, so masks, hand sanitizer, things like that we put in the gift bags to let people know that we really care about them. I think that people just want to be treated like people. Um, One of the we make sure that we address everybody. When I hire my drivers, I say, look, we have people that live in these areas, we have people that live in these areas, but everyone is to be treated as the same. We
Okay.
don't treat people different because they are getting their ride subsidized or covered by some type of grant, other than the people that have no problem paying $200 and $300. Everybody's treated the same. And I think that what I took away from me working for that agency that I was working at is that when people call and they're like, what's your date of birth? What's your address? What's this? What's that? You're not being treated like a person. And so that's one thing that Campton Transport does is we treat people like people. And as far as the older people, I just feel like I have like 10 sets of grandparents out here in Birmingham. They're going to make sure, oh, did you eat today? You've been out here driving all day and you haven't eaten. Where's your jacket at? You didn't have your jacket when you picked me up this morning. Where your jacket? I told you to go home and get your jacket. I really love my customers. I enjoy what I do. And so they feel that and so they choose to ride with us. But going back to the caregivers, a lot of times people are caring for their parents, their aunts, their uncles, anybody. And I mean, the main thing is people can't get off work. And
Mhm.
so if we can ensure people and people know that when their family member or community, because we have people who say, hey, my neighbor needs a ride and I'm just calling around trying to help them. When they know that they are in good hands and they're going to get where they're going and back and no problem, everything is going to be professional. We make everything is customer centered. We make everything as simple as possible for the customers. And so in that environment and nurturing the customer and catering to the customer in every single way, I mean, our customers don't touch car doors. We open car doors,
Okay.
I mean, it's down to a science
Yeah.
of how we treat people. And that is why people choose to ride with Campton Transport. And people have told me that, oh my goodness, I'm so glad that we found you, because I was having to go step out away from my desk and call and make sure that the driver was on the way and make sure that they're on the van and make sure that they're not
Mhm.
traveling 2-3 hours before they even get back to the house. We've earned that trust. And so that's why people ride with us. And so and we know that older people are stubborn, okay? They
Yes.
don't want to ride with like, and I try to explain to people, like I remember I went out of town one time and I was picking this lady up, and when I came back in town, her physical therapy, this was like an 80-year-old lady, and her physical
Mhm.
therapist was like, we're so glad you back, because she was not coming to physical therapy. She refused to ride with anybody else. And we were trying to tell her that she needs to come to physical therapy. And when I saw her, I said, they said that you didn't go to physical therapy. What happened? She said, I don't want to ride with anybody else, baby. So they become comfortable with us, and they stay with us. And I think that means a lot, because it's a lot of other people that they can choose. They can choose to ride with whoever they want to, but they choose
Yeah.
campus transport.
Shoot, Shari, that is a phenomenal testimony, just to your level of service to all these people, and it's whether they're seniors, whether they may be younger. Shoot, I love that. I'm getting so misty-eyed because I'm like, oh, I'm so happy for you. So you are you are the owner of Campton Transport. However, when you were living in Maryland with your parents and your brother, your family also had um a cleaning service. And so
Yes.
let's talk about how you literally transported, yep, pun intended, how you transported your cleaning business from Maryland to Birmingham, Alabama, and then also what made you even want to carry on that business.
Okay. So just to clarify, my father has owned We Clean um since early 2000s, I believe. So that is his cleaning business. I did have a hand. I was a manager for a few years. I managed a couple of his sites and things like that. But that was his cleaning business. I've always been involved in the cleaning business, on and off for 20 years, mainly just part-time, just extra work. Cleaning is really therapeutic to me. So as long as I can go in and, like, I don't like working in groups of people, I will, but cleaning is one of those jobs where even if it's a group of people, you still kind of off to yourself.
Mhm.
And so I've always done cleaning jobs just here and there whenever I needed extra money. And so my dad actually has always been like, you might as well start your cleaning business. You might as well start your cleaning business. And I just did not want to, because I didn't really have a particular reason. I just felt like I just didn't want to, because I saw the things that he was going through with his cleaning business,
Mhm.
honestly.
Okay.
Me being a manager, I just did not want to. I just looked at it as something part-time.
Mhm.
I've had part-time jobs where they've asked me to be a supervisor. They'll say, "Oh, you clean good. What you want?" And I'll be like, "Nope. I just want to come in. I want to be in charge. I don't
Mhm.
want to do anything." And I ran from it from a long, long time. And last year, I ended up getting, was it last year or maybe year before last? I just needed some extra money, and I ended up working for a
Mhm.
lady. And she's actually in Philly, and she gave me the contract. I worked the contract for a few months, and it just wasn't working out with my schedule. So I ended the contract, but I didn't know that she always kept me in mind, but she called me maybe about a year or so ago and was like, "Hey, I got these contracts that I need somebody to, fill. You want them? Like, I love your work ethic. I know, how you do." And I was just like, okay. So it went from there, and then her encouraging me also, as another Black woman, because I really love how Black women, we love and we support each other and encourage each other through this entrepreneurship journey, because it is a
Mhm.
journey. But yeah, she encouraged me, and my dad, of course, he's always telling me to, he said it, he's always telling me to do something. So I just did it. So I started Seawright Cleaning Solutions in March, I want to say,
Okay.
this year, officially on paper, because I was
Okay.
just doing it like just as a,
Officially.
me. But now I have one, two, three, four techs working for me.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah, so we do different things. I have about 5 banks and 6 physical therapy centers and a couple other locations that we do.
That's amazing, Shari, because I'm
Thank
like,
you.
wow, because now, again, being a business owner was not in my path, and
No.
because I'm just, that is a Melanie thing. And so for those of y'all who don't know, who are watching, I have a sister who is the risk taker. She is the entrepreneur. And so I have learned so
Shout
much
out to
from
Melanie
her.
too.
Yes, she encourages a lot of people, including her older sister to stop
Yeah,
being
and
scared.
Melanie has also over the years, like when she knows that if she something came across her mind that I might be interested in, she shared some things with me too. So definitely, she is the organizer. I could agree with that. I could
Oh,
agree with that.
thank you for sharing that, Sherry. I appreciate
No
that.
problem.
Yeah, that
No
would be a
problem.
big boost when I'm like, Melanie, did you know that you have this impact on Sherry? So she'll be like, oh my
Yes,
gosh, Taylor,
yes.
stop it. Okay. So you are the owner of two businesses, and we've talked about some of the ways you have helped people in terms of getting them to their different appointments, or making sure that their building is clean and looking wonderful. But no, but as being a Black woman business owner and also someone who was young, because you're not, no, you're not an old person. Let me phrase that. Okay, that sounds bad.
Old,
So
older. We're getting
yes.
older, not old.
I still feel young, even though we're in our 40s. I'm like, I
Yeah,
still feel very, very youthful. But
and we
let's
still
talk
look
about
good.
some of the challenges, of being a Black woman, actually, in the South now, who is starting your own company. Because if you were in the DMV area, I'm
It would
about
be totally
99%
different.
sure it'd be really different. So
Very
as a
different.
small business owner who was a Black woman, what have you faced as a challenge in getting your brand started?
Um, Definitely funding.
Mhm.
But I think that and the encouragement. Can I just speak on this real quick? Is
Yeah.
that when I got ready to start my business, I asked other business owners, I asked people who are doing the exact same thing that I'm doing
Mhm.
now, and nobody helped me. Nobody.
Oh,
I mean, literally, people would tell me, "Oh, I don't know who my insurance is with. Oh, I don't know
yeah.
how you do this, how you
Mhm.
do that." And I'm just like, okay. But me, again, once I want to do something, you're not gonna stop me. So, okay, fine. It's noted that you chose not to help me when you could have. But it was one person that, and I just happened to meet them, and I was like, hey, can you tell me how to get started? And when I say he walked me through the whole entire process. He gave me his contacts. He gave me he walked me through the whole process and got me started. He even let me ride with his drivers early in the
Okay.
morning to see
Mhm.
how a route would go. He
Mhm.
gave me customers. He sent me like
Okay.
50 people because like I said, because the need is so great in this industry,
Mhm.
it's always going to be people. So he sent me like my first 50 people, like once I got approved
Wow.
for insurance and
Mhm.
things like that. So he definitely, I got to shout him out. Shout out to Terry. And actually, he did pass away from COVID when things, was going on. So,
Mhm.
but I'm forever grateful. I'm forever grateful to him to do that. He was the only one to do that. So that's just one of the dynamics is that, and I'm gonna be careful when I say this because I really like Birmingham. I'm surprised that I like Birmingham as much as I do. But when it comes to doing business, and as you know, in DC, if somebody comes like an outsider that it's kind of like we
Mhm.
know that we aren't really going to be as receptive to them. And so that's what I was expecting. So honestly, I've gotten a mixture of support here in Birmingham. I would say 80% support, 20% of people that really just don't want to see me make it. Then you have the racial part
Mhm.
that is ingrained in the city of Birmingham, unfortunately,
Mhm.
in 2024, about to be 25. It is
Yeah.
a totally different environment. I even remember one of my clients, she was asking me, she was like, "This your company?" And I said, "Yeah." She was like, "They let you start a business?" And I was
Wow.
like, let me, that just goes to the mindset and
Mhm.
how deep the racism and the barriers run in
Yeah.
Birmingham. Um, in the DC area, it's always a joke. They say when people from the DC area, we move to other places and be like, oh, all Black people don't live like this,
Right.
And it's like it's a culture shock. It is,
Mhm.
it's a culture shock. even with the high school, registering Cam for high school. I had him registered. I had the papers notarized and, everything. And he was enrolled in school and he got ready to do sports. And they wanted to come to the house, verify the address, take pictures of the house, go into his room and take pictures of his room to prove that he lived there, because it's not a lot of us in that zip code. And
Well,
how
okay,
I know that it was
pause right there,
specifically
because
for
I am just literally baffled. Okay, so yes, I know that in the South, racism exists still. So like that is not lost on me. But the fact that
racism is everywhere, yes. But
it's everywhere,
Birmingham,
yeah. But the fact that people are thinking that it's okay to just want to go in someone's home and verify as if you can't afford to live where you live,
and that's
is that
basically what they were
something that,
saying. And to prove my
yeah.
point, I asked other parents that are not Black,
Mhm.
your kids are in sports, and they were like, no, that doesn't even sound right. Are you
And
sure
I
they
was going
did?
to ask you
No one
that. And
ever
I was
came
going
to
to
my
ask
house. What are
that.
you talking about? I think you should go. I think you should go to the school and talk to so and so, because that don't sound right. And
Well,
yeah. So that just
woo.
gives you an idea of the environment, that and I mean, like, it's very, you still, like, my dad was doing a voter registration type thing, and he was talking about how people still didn't want to put signs in their yard saying who they was voting for, because they didn't want the
Mhm.
backlash from it. This is 2024.
Right.
um
Woo.
it's a lot. The
Mhm.
It's a lot. I don't know how deep I can go with it, but it's a
You can
definite,
go deep
yeah,
as you
it's
want.
a lot. I mean, just the white people will do business with you,
Mhm.
but you gotta you gotta have your stuff together.
You're right. You got to be extra on point,
Yeah,
just to
yeah,
prove to them
you
that
gotta
yes, I'm
have
a
your,
black owner.
yeah.
But woo,
And
that's pressure
Birmingham is
right
very
there.
segregated still too. So I mean,
Hmm.
um, it's a white side and it's a black side.
Hmm.
I've
Is
seen
mhm.
people that are not Black or white, but there's not like at home. It's not a mixture at all. Like at home, it's
Mhm.
segregated. It's still racial tension.
Mhm.
It's something that, I mean, it's I don't know what to say sometimes. You talk to people, because we just how we were raised.
Yeah.
We believe that we can do anything and that we have access to these
Hmm.
things. But even on my job, I remember something happened that was definitely racist. I can't remember what it was, because it was a
Uh,
few things. And I went to my supervisor and I was like, so what do I do? Do I go to HR? She was like, HR. Now, keep in mind, they also had all the Black people managed by the Black supervisor. So
mm,
that was weird too. But I was like, yeah, so I mean, what do I do? Do I go to HR? What do I do? And she was like,
right.
go to HR. Well, you know how they are, And I was like, no,
Mm.
I don't know how they are. Like, this ain't right. They're not supposed to do this. But so yeah, it's a very, your place, we know our
Mm.
place type thing. And that's how Birmingham is. So doing business, I do, I can't, I'm gonna be honest. Locally, on the local level, I can do business. On a state level, I've been trying to crack into that
Okay.
outside of Medicaid.
Right.
It takes
Yeah.
the right connections. And when you get those
Hmm.
connections, you got to be 10 times better.
Hmm. Yeah. I have some thoughts in my head. I was like, hey, Carol, don't say it, cause
Now, I will say this. I will say this. I'd rather deal with the racism that's up front of my face and I know
yes.
how you
Hmm.
are. And then that way I know how to act, rather than you do things like purposely not promote me
Hmm.
but you giving me all these BS reasons. But we all know why. And I
Hmm.
would like for somebody, I mean, I go into restaurants and I'm ignored. I've had white people, be like, "Hey, she was here first." I mean, it's Carol, it's an experience. But I love
I
Birmingham.
can. Yeah, I
I
mean,
do like it though. I like it, but it's
mhm.
not. I'm not gonna be here forever.
Oh, you definitely, yeah, because I mean, because shoot, you were on the go as a business owner. Now, let me just ask you, okay, so then with your various customers who may not always be Black, have you had customers who, once they found out that this company is owned by a Black woman, have refused to go further with the ride or the cleaning I guess contract?
Yes. Yes. And actually that's crazy because in both industries. So with the transportation, I remember I had a lady that arranged for us to pick her mother up from the airport. She had gone out there to visit her and she was coming back into Birmingham and they were taking her from the airport to her nursing home. And everything was fine. The daughter paid for the trip and everything. And we were out there waiting for her. And when the lady saw me coming out the airport, she refused to get in the car. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking like, okay, what do I do? Like
Mhm.
I didn't know what to do because I did not anticipate, and I feel like in that situation, maybe the daughter knowing how her mother was should
Mhm.
have warned her mother, I guess,
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
I don't know, but yeah, the lady refused to get in the car. I had to call her daughter. Her daughter was able to talk her into getting into the car, but the whole ride was very awkward. She was like, "Oh, I used to go to the country club over here. We're driving. I'm just driving her.
Mhm.
I used to go to the country club over here." She was like, "I wish it was still open and we could go." She said, "Oh, but they probably won't let you in." And I was like,
Woo!
okay.
That. Mm.
And then we get to the nursing home and
Mhm.
I'm getting her out the nursing home. I'm sorry, I'm getting her out the
Mhm.
car to escort her into the nursing home. And she just starts yelling and screaming and like I'm attacking her. It's people starting to
Yelling
rush
at
me in the
you?
parking lot. Um, I just was like, in that moment, I was just trying to get her into hand her off to the nursing home staff. But she was not happy at all. When I remember I had a pickup the day after Juneteenth, and I picked a guy
Mm.
up, and he was just going on and on and on. He was like, "I've never heard of this holiday. Why do we have to have a holiday? This is a strange holiday." Just things like that. Like it's very, upfront. And then even with the cleaning recently,
Mhm.
I went to go drop some supplies off for my tech. Now everything was going fine. Everything I got the contract from a white woman. And so everything was fine. I went to go, I mean, no complaints, no nothing. I went to go drop supplies off for the tech and they were still open. So I had to do something. I just went in and I was like, "Hey, I'm with the cleaning company. Can we come? Can I leave the supplies here for my tech when she
Mhm.
comes later on?" And they were like, "Yes." But when I came back in with the supplies, the bank manager came out and she was like, "Well, we thought someone else was cleaning the this location. And who are you? We just can't let random people come
Mhm.
into the bank. This is the bank." And I
Yeah.
was like, "I'm not random people. I'm with the cleaning company. Like I'm dropping it. I'm not the cleaner. I'm dropping this off
Mhm.
for the cleaner." She was like, "Well, we had no knowledge and this is this." And I'm like, "Well, you got the contract with the company. So I don't know, but whatever the case." So after that, I mean, it was complaint after complaint after
Mhm.
complaint. I even caught them because I was trying to be like on point. So we cleaned. Of course, the banks are closed on the weekend. So I went in. We had the tech clean on a Friday. I went in just so happened to go in on a Saturday afternoon to take some pictures and just show that everything was in place. They literally had come in and put paint on the table, left food out, all these types of things,
Mhm.
to do a false complaint. They said that we were bringing fleas in. They said we were bringing roaches in. They said that, I mean, it was just complaint after complaint after complaint to
Mhm.
the point I just dropped the contract.
Yeah.
But everything was fine until I walked in. And
So
when
they
I say
saw
no
that you're
complaint,
Black. Mm-hmm. Wow.
so yes, I don't think that's why I don't think I would run into those issues if I was in a different area. No,
I
I
mean,
don't think
yeah, I
so.
mean, that would not happen in the DC area or if you
No.
were in a
And
major
even if
metro
it did
area.
happen, you would be able to go to somebody and they would you definitely correct it. But there's
Mm-hmm.
no, and honestly, I'd rather just let the contract go. As
Yeah.
I say, I know a lot of different ways to make money. I'm never it's never that serious for me. God is the source, everything else is the resource.
Wow.
So
Okay. So then when when you have experienced the upright in your face beyond blatant racism, like sometimes you can just sit there and drive and be quiet and not have to look at them.
mhm.
But like with the bank, how did you even keep your cool enough to get through some of these times? Because I mean, that's got to be a test of your strength and will just to not say and react like how you want to say and react.
Whenever things like that happens, I call my mother and she
Mhm.
says, "But you're not calling me from jail." So it all went good. Because she knows me. She knows
Mhm.
that I don't play that. Like now up at
Mhm.
home, oh
Mhm.
no, that I would have been like, look, you would have already paid for the trip. We can't transport her, whatever the case. But I also feel like I tell people entrepreneurship is character development too.
Mhm.
Because a lot of things that you thought you were weak in, you really strong in. A lot of things you thought you were strong in, you really weak in. And you're going to be tested. You're going to be
Mhm.
tested. And really, what drove me is the reputation of Captain Transport. I'm not going to sabotage that for anybody.
Mhm.
Um, Her daughter booked the ride. I don't hide my identity on my websites, on my,
Mhm.
my social media and whatnot. Um, I don't. The first thing when I open up my mouth and I start talking down here, they say, "Where you from?" Because you're not from here. So, so they know they can hear my voice. That I don't know, but I'm not gonna compromise the integrity or the reputation for Captain Transport. And actually, I feel like that even speaks more to my dedication to building a brand. Is that regardless of how you feel, we're going to still treat you with respect. Now, I've had to definitely address some things where people cannot ride with us anymore.
Mhm.
Nobody did them or anyone else at that address. So I've had incidents like that, but something like that, I really, as long as they don't get combative, as long as
Mhm.
there's no type of, there weren't any slurs that were said,
Okay.
but she definitely made it known that
She
and
was
her
not
daughter,
feeling it.
and I feel like her daughter her daughter apologized profusely
Mhm.
after her mother was dropped off. So I mean, it is what it is. And even the man that was upset about Juneteenth, he was a
Mhm.
regular customer. I mean,
Oh, hey.
he paid, I mean, cash money, to
Mhm.
ride with us. So you got to take it with a grain of salt. And then also, a lot of times you have to realize that, again, like I said, there's a mindset and there's a way of living down here in the South, period.
Mhm.
But Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, I would even throw Florida in there. There's a
Mhm.
way of there's just some things that are ingrained in people. You have Black people that will not go and do anything with white people.
And
You have
mhm.
that. Down here. I mean, it's I just never seen it this up close and personal.
And I
Yeah.
can only imagine what you were going
Yes.
through. And I empathize. I applaud you because I'm like, ooh, this gotta be strength right there, Shari.
Yes.
Okay.
It takes a lot. It takes,
Mhm.
and everybody isn't like that. Like even like I said, I've been in some situations and non-Black people have come to, my assistance and been like, no, we're not going to let this happen. This is wrong, or, something like that. But I mean, it happens. This is the environment that I'm in. So I can't let it get me all bent up out of shape. Doing business with men is very interesting because there's a lot of women that take the shortcut to success.
I know
We'll leave it at that. They take the shortcut to success. I know that I'm an attractive woman, So when I do business with men, the first thing I do is I give a firm handshake and I look them right in their eyes. And I always get this, they say, "Ooh, you got a strong handshake." Yes, because I'm here to do business. I'm letting you know I'm here to do business. I don't sleep my way to the top.
Right. You're not here to play. You're here to work.
I'm not bending my morals. I'm not doing, I'm not doing anything of that. It's not worth it to me. We're going to do business. And so I had an interview with a guy, and I was going to hire him. I did his background. His motor vehicle came back good. Everything was a go. And I called him in to do his driving test. And he was like, "I don't even want the job. I want to go out with you."
Oh, so he went through all that for that.
And I'm like, dude.
But like, okay.
In this moment, why would I go out?
Yes.
You chose, you, I guess, needed the job, because you applied for it and you went through all of this. We done paid for your background check. We done did all of this. And then you call and tell me that you don't want the job. You want to take me out. No, thank you. And your services will not be needed, But I mean, it's a lot of men. Like I've had men tell me that I have to join with them. They come to me, and when I say thousands of dollars that they're willing to pour into my business, but then they make me feel like I can't do it without them. They make me feel like, it's an undertone to it of, well, you can get farther if you do this, but then it's more of a like they're trying to undermine my business. I mean, it's just the element, to it. But I don't really have any all I can say is just just don't blur the lines. Don't blur the lines. And I've always done this. I don't fraternize with coworkers, even on a job. Okay. I don't talk to people on a job. I don't do things like that. So when I'm doing business, it's business. It's nothing else. And if you're unable to do business with a woman, because you might not think that we're smart enough, you might, and then a lot of men are intimidated. A lot of men are intimidated. A lot of men, you get in these rooms and they talk this big stuff, but then when I walk in and I'm asking them questions and I'm using words and they looking confused, and it's like, and then they get upset because now it's hit their ego. So it's a very tight line that you have to, but I haven't had a lot of those instances, but that has happened.
Wow, yeah. And so then like you working in the South, so then if you were working in the DC area, like do you still think that that you would have those challenges working with men that you do have now where you are in Birmingham?
I can't say for sure because when I was working in DC, I was never working as an entrepreneur. I was working more as an employee, and I did have people on my jobs do things, say things, things like that. But again, I was able to either handle it myself or go to HR or something like that, But I think that me being a business owner, it's different now because this really is a male dominated field, for one. I will say that. So a lot of times you have to work with males, and again, just trying to come up, we are in the South. So
Mhm.
a lot of Southern women don't take because they don't take positions where they're in charge because it's a
Mm.
mindset type thing. You know,
Yeah.
when men run things and women stay home and run the house.
Yeah, and
Um,
you're right. It's so ingrained in their
it's
mind, like
ingrained.
from their parent, their grandmother, their great grand,
Yeah,
etc.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's ingrained. You know, that and the husband is the head of the family. Don't get me
Mhm.
wrong,
Right. Yeah.
but I think that in the South there's a different level to it, to where what your husband says goes. Um, no matter what, men
It could be
run
right,
the
wrong,
show.
indifferent.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, and that's why a lot of times people will say, like, I give bite back, so they might say that I got a smart mouth or I'm bossy or I'm intimidated because I was not raised like that. My mother
Hmm.
always told me that I had a voice. My mother always made sure that, I know who I am as a woman and I'm confident in what I say and what I'm talking about and things like that. And so a lot of times, I mean, just even when I talk to women down here, they don't really have those, and again, just going back to our childhood, we had women in our communities that were encouraging us. And if we were shy,
Yes.
they would put us in positions to bring that out of us into,
Woo.
everybody didn't have
You
that. We just
you are
blessed.
you are so right because if you were nervous, they would say, "Okay, it's the third Sunday, and Carol or
And
Melanie
you won't
or
get it
so and
together.
so, we haven't seen you do this part of the program, so we're not going to ask you. We're going to tell your mama or your
Yes, this
daddy,
is
and
what you're
then
doing.
when you get there, you're like, oh." Okay, this has my name. Okay, I'm getting up there. And like
Yes.
what you were saying, when we first got started was that even though we were kids and didn't see the value in those things at times, like as adults, those have really helped us to become the confident men and women that we are, regardless
Hmm.
of where we're living currently. And
Hmm.
so that then leads me in back to your childhood. So your mother and father poured a lot into you and your brother, and I'm not going to give examples, but I know that they love y'all so much. So, with that being said, w- um, how was the way that you were raised? So, let me phrase that. How was the way that you were raised by your parents something that then showed you that you don't want to give up? That even when things are getting tough and challenging, were there some words maybe as a kid that then helped you to get through those lulls or those like, whoo, I can't do it. They didn't talking about Juneteenth today. They didn't put paint on the table. So like how did that have a bearing on you as an adult business owner?
um, I think with the racism part, we were in our home. That wasn't anything that was shied away from. We read books. We were
Mhm.
informed. We were told the truth about who we are as Black people, and that's just what we believe. Again, to go
Mhm.
back to our childhood, Black history programs. To really have that pride, that um family and friends Sunday, things like that. So no matter where I go, I guess it will bother me. I mean, it's been some things. Like I remember one time I went to this lady's house and she was looking at this is before I locked my hair, and
Mhm.
she was like, "Oh, your hair is so pretty. It looks just like I made when I was little." And like I
Oh,
said, I mean, these
oh,
people, they really, this is just the way of life. They don't see
right.
anything wrong with it. Like they really don't. That's how you gonna tell somebody 90 years old that they wrong for saying something like that?
Okay, she was that. Okay, well, I mean,
Yeah, she
well,
was older.
okay.
Like, to have a maid in the home, with the same, yeah, she was older. I mean, I don't run into it a lot with the younger, um,
Okay.
the people in our age range. I really don't.
Mhm.
I don't. It's the older people, and because Campton caters to older people, I just
Mhm.
encounter it more. But
Okay, you see it more.
really run into those types of things. I mean, they happen, but not on a level to where, I really have to address it. But I've just always been I've always been confident, but also my father's story of where he's come from and how much he's had to go through. Everybody knows his story of how he grew up just extremely. I mean, if there's a level below poor, then that might be the level that my dad grew up on. Like to really have literally nothing and to see how he was able to come from that to where he is now. I know that anything is possible.
They are so proud. You already know that.
Yes. I've always been an individual. I've never really followed the rules. I've never really been, I've always been doing my own thing, whether it's good or bad consequences. I've just always been doing my own thing. So, I think every part of me prepared me for this. And I always said that. I remember when I got ready, when I graduated from high school, and I did not want to go to college. I just knew I wanted to work. I didn't really know how to vocalize that or call it entrepreneurship or anything like that. And then we're talking when did I graduate? Early 2000s.
I wasn't gonna say the year.
I mean, but in that, and then like I said, in the environment that we grew up in, is that you don't, what do you mean you don't want to go to school? So, but I didn't know what I really wanted to do. I just never saw myself working long term, like until I retire. I don't know. I just never saw that for myself. And so when I said that, I mean, parents want the best for their kids. You don't want to, and then it's like, okay, so what you gonna do? You gonna drop out? What you gonna do? And I'm like, no, but I really don't know what I want to do. But I don't really want to do this. I don't want to do that. And so, but everything that I went through brought me to this. It prepared me for the confidence that I had to have in myself, to even jump out there. When I left my job, when I gave them my 2 weeks notice, they gave it back to me and told me to think about it. They wouldn't accept it. And so they threw me this going away party. You know how government do? They throw you a little goodbye party, and stuff like that. And everybody signed a card and they get you some stuff. And I was like, and they was like, well, what are you going to do? And I was like, I don't know. I'm just not going to work, and they was like, the whole room kind of got quiet. And they were like, okay, and I was like, yeah. And at that time, I didn't even know if I was going to be in Georgia or Alabama. So I even my son's orthodontist was like, you'll be back in 7 months, and so those things still drove me, to pursue what I'm doing now. I'm not going to say excellence. It is excellence. It is Black excellence. I'm very proud of myself. I feel like I'm doing a good job, but I have not reached where I want to be yet. So, but yeah, all of those things played a part in where I am now. And my parents, when I do get down, my dad, very, very tough love. He doesn't allow, all that crying and all of that. He's like, well, crying not going to do anything. And you need to do this. You need to do that, But he's very encouraging. And just knowing where like I said, to know his story. He shares a lot of his story, but me seeing up close and personal where he comes from, what he's had to go through. And then I draw the strength also from my grandmother. And just, I think about, if she can make it, then I can. I think she had like an 8th grade education, I want to say. She raised her kids. Our family, all the men take care of their kids. All our family are upstanding people, So if that's in my blood, if that's what I come from, and I have way more than what they had to work with, then it's just a matter of time before I reach the the point of success that I want to attain.
Yeah, and you still have so much more to achieve. Now, I have been known to have premonitions, visions, whatever you want to call it, because I don't want to get into if it's right or
Right.
wrong. But I know firsthand that I have had ideas for people or visions that have come to light. So I'm going to ask you this, and then if you don't want this to actually, like be part of the interview, then that's fine too. So
Okay.
have you thought about having a class or a course, to really help people who want to get to where you are? Because you have so much wisdom from what you have experienced, because you took a risk. You didn't have a plan, but no, but it worked out. So for those people, that want to learn from you, have you thought about maybe down the road having a workshop or a seminar, just to give them some
Yes.
tips?
So far,
Good.
I've helped 3 people start their medical transportation business here in Alabama. So that's what I was doing for a while, is just walking people through the process of starting their own transportation business.
Mhm.
That's a lot. That's very time consuming though. It really is. My schedule is crazy, as you can imagine. So I don't really have the time to do that one-on-one, right? But
Mhm.
that's crazy that you said that, because yes, I do at the beginning of the year. So my consultant focuses on business etiquette, strategic
Mhm.
networking, and effective marketing. And
Okay.
so I'm going to start doing though. I'm going to turn my one-on-ones into
Mhm.
classes
Okay.
that I do, discussing business etiquette, strategic networking, and effective marketing. But on the personal side, um, and this is so crazy. This is so crazy. And I'm just thinking about how it all came up. Is that I work with a nonprofit agency,
Mhm.
and we do transportation for them, right? But then working with them, they also go to a women's shelter, and we speak to them like twice a month. It's holiday season right now, so we'll start back
Mhm.
after the first year. But they had me do a presentation. Okay, Carol, and look, the oral presentations and everything growing up, the Easter speeches, all of that. I still do not like public speaking. So I have to go through like this whole mental thing of preparing and everything. And I'm just nervous, and my stomach is bubbling, and I'm just can't wait to get through it, right? But I did it, and I did the presentation for the women at the shelter, and it's called The Evolution of You.
Okay.
And I've turned that into a book, actually. So I just
Oh
finished
my
up writing that.
goodness.
And so what I'm going to do is, my plan is to work with women groups to present that presentation. And what basically is the elevation of you, the evolution of you. And I keep saying elevation, and I think that maybe I need to change, because it just keeps coming out, elevation
Mhm.
of you. Because the evolution really is the elevation process that I took myself through when I decided that I had had enough of how my life was going, how I wanted
Mhm.
to change it, what went into that. And then I also included like biblical references for basically to base that on.
Yeah.
So it's, just figuring out where you are in life, what do you picture your life as, what the steps that you need to do, and then how do you do those. And so I broke it down into a book,
Mhm.
and I am, yes, in the process of releasing that book 2025. So you're the first person not the first person I shared that with, but
Fun.
publicly. I just felt like, because you said that and you already had that feeling, then yes. So stay tuned. I will have more information about that. I'll be doing public speaking because I really feel like uh I want to connect with a certain
Mhm.
group of women who feel stuck, who
Mhm.
feel like they've messed up and they can't turn their lives around, who feel like they don't have everything that they need, and they're giving themselves these excuses that
Mhm.
may be true, but it's not fact.
Wow.
So
I had
I
no
want to help.
idea.
I want to do that. So yeah, so keep a lookout for that 2025.
Sherry, see, it's a fact that my thoughts, I'm like, okay, well, so and so, and they're like, yeah, I'm like, oh, see, I had no idea. So y'all, I had no idea Sherry was doing no
No idea.
classes
No,
and writing. I
nobody
had
knows that,
no idea.
except for a few people that have been assisting me with the
Yeah.
process.
Shoot, I love that, Sherry. So yes, I am looking forward to what you have coming up in
Thank
the next
you.
year and beyond. So let's talk about what has been your biggest success in the cleaning business and in the transport business.
Okay, so when I think of success with the transportation, success to me is not financial.
Mhm.
And a lot of people connect financial to the level of success, right? I was thinking today, this is the fourth tax year that I'm going into, that every single dollar that I've made has come from my creativity. And I'm amazed by that. I can't believe it. I can't believe that I've sustained myself with the help, because my parents have been extreme supporters of what I'm doing, and I've had to lean on them from time to time. But like my daily needs, my bills, the things that I need to do have been taken care of. And I think it's because it's the impact that I put over the income. Because I feel like money is one of the easiest things to get if you have
Mhm.
that mindset. A lot of people think that money is hard to make, but it's not hard to make at all. If you have a certain mindset and you know how to connect with people, I had, and I've been able to do this. My reputation is intact. My character is intact. Um, I have a good group of people that I've inspired, that I encourage, whether I know that I am or not. And that to me is success. And I really can't even believe that I'm saying that. When my very first job, I was 13 years old, and my manager told me never go into business to make money. And I was 13 years old, and I was like, who about to work for free? I'm not about to work for free. But what he was saying is that when you go into business, it has to be more than just the money driving you, because the money will come quick. But if you don't know how to nurture your customer, if you don't know how to withstand the downtimes, you can make 10,000 a day and not make nothing else for 3 weeks. And so if money is your driving factor, you're going to you're not going to last long. You're not going to last long.
Mhm.
So success to me is impact, the lives that are changed, even with the dialysis. Like a lot of times, I can't imagine going to dialysis 3 days a week. I really can't. So a lot of times people are in a dark place when they're going to dialysis and chemo. And I actually had a guy that was doing dialysis and chemo at the same time.
Mhm.
Um, but to hear the social workers say that they started coming in better moods, um, they're more talkative, they're looking for trying to improve their health. A lot of people accept their diagnosis as just, this is what it is. It's not going to change. The doctor told me 6, 7 months. So this is just what it is. And then to see them go from, well, I think I am going to try that oat milk that you were talking about, I think I am going to do this, or I'm going to, I got up and I decided I can't walk outside, but I decided to get up and walk around my house, today. That is success to me. And so I've taken the financial part out of it. It's important, but that doesn't mean that I'm successful. You got people that are millionaires and billionaires, and they are miserable. They don't even sleep at night
Mhm.
because they're not doing anything impactful. They're not touching any lives. They're not even connecting with their families.
Mm-hmm.
Is that success? I don't think so. I
Right.
would want to have $1 billion to my name and not be able to sleep at night. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I see success as. The challenges, they come. It's part of it. We
Mm-hmm.
don't want to struggle. That's a lot of things. A lot of people don't want to struggle. And then especially now in this Instagram and everything is instant, instant, instant. Everybody wants instant gratification. But I think that that's something that has set me apart. A lot of people started their businesses in COVID when the
Mm-hmm.
money was flowing and everything was good and everything. And then when things started to slow down, they were like, oh, I need to go back to work. What did I tell you at the beginning of this call? I decided that I wasn't going back to work.
Right.
So it's like, I got to make it work, so whatever challenge happens, this is what I have to do. A lot of times if I got to work till 1 o'clock in the morning, then fine, I'm not getting up until 12 o'clock the next day. So I'm going to work till 1 in the morning, things like that. So, I mean, challenges come. It's part
Yeah.
of it. I embrace them. I learn
Mm.
from them. And if I can fix it, I can fix it. If I can't, then I pray about it. And if it's not supposed to happen, it's not supposed to happen.
Hey, I take that as a word, Shari, because yeah, you're right. I'm serious. Take that as a word right there. So we have covered so much that I really do think can help people because whether they want to start a cleaning service, a transfer company, or just any kind of business, like you have given tips and guidance that can help any person. So
Mhm.
on this last question, where do
Mhm.
you see yourself in the next 5 or 6 years?
Oh, almost retired. I've been working since I was 13 years old. 13 years old. I'm coming up on my 30 years. Okay. So these next 8 to 9 years, I am doing everything. I've started investing. I've started doing these things because I don't want to work past the age 50, but I will
Okay.
push it to 55 if I need to. But after
Okay.
that, I don't, and when I say work, I mean I want to open up my laptop in the morning, make sure that everybody's doing what they're supposed to be doing,
Mhm.
close it, and not open it back up until the next day. That's what
Okay.
I see work. The cleaning and the transportation is a vehicle to everything else that I want to do. I have a list of businesses that I want and I'm going to have. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm gonna be. Hopefully
Okay,
retired.
shoot.
Save
I
this
am
and then
here.
I'll play it back in 10 years.
I am here for it. Yeah. So we have learned so much about entrepreneurship, about being a small business owner. And I will also say that in 2024, the federal government actually gave out $56 billion to small
Wow.
business owners. And so, y'all,
Wow.
if Shari can do it, if others can do it, there is federal funding out there. No guarantees. So I encourage y'all
No
to
guarantee, but you
look
got
that
to do the
up.
work. You
Yes,
got to
look
do
it
the
up on
work.
your own. You can go to S as in Sam, B as in boy, A as in apple.gov, SBA.gov. See what you can find out, for being a small business owner. So I want to thank you.
SB Small Business
um,
Resource Center, I think it is, or
Administ
Small Business Development Center is what you're going to look for in the
okay.
SBA.gov.
Thank
They have a
you. Because
local, every state has a local office.
okay, even better. I see. I didn't even know that. Yeah, so
SCDC. Yeah.
So thank you, Shari, so much for joining us and just sharing your wisdom, your guidance. And so, do you have
Thank you for
any
having
final
me.
thoughts before we wrap up?
No, just keep going. Whatever you're doing, keep going.
Okay. Well, until next time, we'll see y'all next time on First and 15th, everybody.